My first question is, I was looking on this pamphlet right here.
Yep.
And one of the things that obviously stuck out to me was reverse racism. Is racism. And so my question to that is, I've always thought too that, although I agree with that, I've always thought too that prejudice and discrimination are inherently tied to, historically rooted and entrenched institutionalized forms of systemic racism, and hierarchies, injustice, and power imbalance. And so my question here is, if you believe in this kind of power structures that have existed and continues to exist, how might you go about reconciling these structures?
Thank you. And did you have a second question too?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The second question is, I'm a pastor, and as a pastor, just as America needs saving, I think pastors also need saving, and part of that starts with fitness. I saw you on Instagram with Logan Paul.
Yeah.
You guys were doing push-ups.
Yeah, that's right.
You did it for boxer.
Yeah.
So would you mind doing 10 push-ups with a pastor?
That's right. You got that. Right. You want to start with that? Let's start with that. Come here. Count them out, buddy. Let's go. Ready to go. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There you go. That's good. I didn't even get my workout today. That's good. I'm proud of you. That's good. Thank you, man. That's a favor to me. I like that. Did my wife call you beforehand and tell you she planted that one, didn't she? She said, I'm not exercising enough on the campaign trail. She's looking out for me. That's good, man. What's your name?
I'm Samuel Anson.
Samuel? Yeah. Samuel? Okay, good to meet you. So I want to address the first question. I think it's great. I think we, as I said in the beginning, we don't have these kinds of open conversations anymore in this country. And so the heart of the question, let me summarize it, is reverse racism is racism. You agree with me on one hand, but on the other hand, how does that account for historical injustices in this country, including power structures that may be based on inequalities grounded in race? It's the heart of the question? Yeah, fair. Thank you. So here's my view on this. Have we been perfect through our national history? Absolutely not. Right? I mean, we had slavery for 160 years. There was a civil war fought over it. Some people learned that later in life than others. But that's okay. But, that's history, right? It's American history. And so the question is, what do we do about it now? So I'll give you my honest, sort of candid feelings about where we are. Was there a time and place for correcting for those past injustices? Yeah, I think it was like in 1870. And did we do a perfect job of it? No, we didn't. But at a certain point in time, I think that what you would think of as racism in this country, or you could fill in the blank, sexism, or any other ism or form of discrimination, it gets to be small enough, not to be zero, but small enough that the best thing we can do is let it atrophy to irrelevance. And if otherwise you try to attack it, it's like an immune system. My background is in biology, so sometimes I think in these kinds of analogies. But it's like an immune system trying to fight a virus long after the virus is gone, or almost gone even. It starts to just attack its own organs. That's what I see happening in the country. And so here's my view, to make that kind of abstract reflection a little simpler. Today, the best way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. That's what I believe. And I think that in the name of anti-racism, which is a movement that calls out for us to be more race conscious of the differences, to correct for them, I think we've actually created more racism in this country. And it's sad because, so I've started businesses, of multiple different businesses this campaign. It turns out I've hired people of every combination you could probably not every combination, but most combinations you could imagine of race and gender and this or that or the other thing. In one case, it was a black woman who was in a senior position of authority. One of the well-compensated, high position of authority. A lot of people would be jealous of that position and want it. And I heard, right, somebody who's upset she's above the hierarchy. She just got her job because she's a black woman. She's checking a box. And that hurt me, not because I took it as an insult, because I don't hire people that way. But it hurts me to say that's unfair to her. It's not fair to anybody. It's not just to anybody to stand for a system where we see each other as called upon to see each other on the basis of the color of our skin. And so at a certain point, the right answer is, I think, we have to move forward. If we drive with our eyes in the rearview mirror, we're just going to keep crashing the same car and recreating the very thing we wanted it to eradicate. So that's what I believe. And that's why I'm against, what you'll call, what does that refer to? Reverse racism, like affirmative action, right? Quota systems, direct or indirect. I'm against them because I think they're inherently divisive. They're anti-meritocratic. I think they're anti-American at their core. And so you will never, it's kind of like, in a philosophical sense, like the answer to the first question. We're never going to defeat the people who disagree with us by censoring them, by using the tools of the opposition against them. So I say that in the category of speech. Well, we Republicans have been censored, and we have. Conservative speech has been censored, so we're going to come back and censor you. We're never going to win that way because you lose the very thing we're fighting for. So it's the same thing. Well, we experienced racism. Now we're going to get racism in reverse. We never win by using the toolkits of the other side. And you're on a higher pay grade than me as a pastor. I'm just running to be president. But you're operating on a different plane. But I think that it's something that you might think of as mercy. At a certain level, what is our path forward as a country? At some point is going to have to, at some point in time. I mean, there's a time for justice and there's a time for mercy. And those two things are in tension with one another, right? And I think at this moment we live in, I got a question yesterday. Somebody asked me a question. He said, what was the cause of the Civil War? And do you think that there's a civil war in this country right now? I think we are skating on thin ice as a country right now. I think we are in the middle of a cold cultural civil war right now. I don't want to see it turn hot. But I think it's going to require a combination of both justice, accountability for those who have committed those wrongs, with a blindfold of justice, but also some level of saying we will move on as a country. And so that's what I believe. And so hopefully that addresses your question for how I think about it. Not denying past inequity, but by acknowledging that at a certain point we're going to do about as well as we could, and then we decide the best thing for all of us is to aspire to our ideals. And this is what makes America beautiful. Are we a perfect nation? No, we are not. We never have been, and we never will be. Because here's why. I can tell you why it will never be the case. There's two things that are true about us. We're human beings, we're not gods. And we're still a nation that has ideals. See, it's interesting how nobody calls China hypocritical, or Iran, or Pakistan, or anywhere else. You don't hear the allegations of those nations being hypocritical. To be hypocritical, you had to have ideals in the first place. So as a nation that has ideals, and a nation that's comprised of human beings, we will always fall short of those ideals. But we're founded on the pursuit of a more perfect union. The pursuit of liberty, equality, and justice for all. That is what makes America great. That is what makes America itself.